What's up, everyone? I'm back here with a maple Nebari project. I started this tree about 18 months ago. It was originally an air layer off of another Japanese maple. It's a regular standard green Acer palmatum. And it, if you want to reference the old video, you can see me doing some of the initial Nebari work. Now, the tree kind of took a little time off last year. It was on a vacation, deciding what it was going to do, I guess, in terms of root growth. So this year, it has put out a pretty good set of leaves, and we're here just a week or so after the summer solstice. So I'm going to do a little bit of trimming and explore how I can harness the growth that I have gotten so far to enhance the Nebari and further this composition. All right, so kind of zoomed in here underneath the canopy, and I have to scrape away some of this perlite bark mixture that I have on the top here in order to be able to see the Nebari. So underneath here, last time I put a piece of plywood, and I also had some areas from the air layer that hadn't created roots. It looks like those may have issued roots at this point. The amount of top growth that this has on it is pretty impressive at this point, a year and a half later, and that's because I've just been sort of letting it run. So it's building up a fair amount of wood here around the base on all sides. I'm not going to pull this out because it's the middle of the growing season, but let's take a look at the various branching and how it relates to the formation of the Nebari. These look like they're new roots issuing. This, I believe, is the area where I created a little cut horizontally to encourage rooting, and there's a root coming out here, although I can't quite tell if it's coming underneath a different root from a different position. If I spin this a little bit, it's going to be hard to see because there's leaves in the way. So what you can see is that this strong trunk here, which is the one that has the most top growth, is creating sort of like a vertical root here on the side. And it's a little bit bigger than the roots that are being formed in other areas. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and cut back the top growth coming from this trunk so that we slow down the wood production right here and even it out a little bit more for the rest of this season. All right, so this is that trunk all the way up to where I've cut it here, and I've basically cut everything that was coming off that trunk back to just a couple of leaves, leaving the other trunks with longer, stronger branching. So this is probably the sort of central trunk that's going mostly upward, and then this is coming off of this trunk that's slightly to the left of this one. And actually, just to make it easier to see, I'll remove a few of these lower branches. Now back at the first side that we looked at, this low trunk is also putting out some good strong growth over here, and it's also kind of doing the same thing as the one in the back here that I just trimmed. So it's creating a little bit more wood on this side than I want it to. So I'm going to trim the growth off that one as well to just slow it down from a wood production standpoint. Okay, so most of the growth removed from this portion, or from this trunk. Now looking at the other trunk, this trunk or branch, depending on how you want to look at it, is coming out of an area, it's not super strong, although it does have a runner on here, but it's coming out of an area where it looks like we could use a little bit more wood, so I'm going to leave that to run. And then the ones that are going more vertical here appear to be creating wood that is more distributed across the circumference of the Nebari. So As I move forward with this, I might continue to prefer the wood growth to come from one or both of these two rather than from the lower branches here that could end up causing a little bit more irregular sort of taper in that Nebari. So with projects like this, I often do just a quick check-in and do small optimizations like that to try to assist in whatever goal I have moving forward with that particular project. For this one, it meant that I was just removing a little bit of foliage, and because we're here in the growing season, I'm not going to be doing any root work. But as a matter of fact, I'm probably not going to be doing any root work in the winter either, because I want this thing to continue to grow fast, and any root work that I do is just going to slow it down. If you recall from the first session with this tree, I put a piece of plywood underneath. So all of those roots that are running down are going to splay outward. So I'm imagining that as I continue working on this, that we're actually going to be using the portion between the visible portion here and the plywood as a part of the visible tree. In other words, the tree is going to get taller from us exposing more of that Nebari. It's only buried right now because I want it to evenly issue roots. So I'll probably revisit this in another year or even longer and see how we're doing. Meanwhile, I have plenty of other trees to be working with. That wraps up this video. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.